In this training, I'm going to be explaining the game of YouTube and how to win. We're also going to look at the #1 strategy, the golden rule, the approach to take if you don't have much money, the approach to take if you don't have much time, the end game, and the truth about winning or losing. By now, you've hopefully watched my video on the game of YouTube, which was an overview of why YouTube is like a game and how to play. But I now want to expand on this concept further so you can understand exactly how to win. Firstly, imagine YouTube is a 3D world. Viewers wander around exploring, looking for things to watch. But just like in our real world, there's only so much space. There's limited real estate, and the top 1% of creators take up pretty much all of that space. Viewers walk down the street and are bombarded with the same characters over and over. The city is filled with endless Mr. Beast buildings. If you were trying to find some smaller creators, it's a lot harder. They still have their own little corners on the outskirts of the city, but not many people know about them, so you'll likely have to go and actively search to find them. At first, this feels disheartening for new small creators. But here's the exciting part. All of that prime real estate is constantly up for grabs. When the creators of YouTube first developed the world, they knew it would be impossible for them to decide who should get the limited number of spaces available. So they passed that job to the algorithm, an omnipresent being who oversaw everything. At first, it was the Wild West. The algorithm simply promoted videos based on views, and thus YouTube became a lawless city where all kinds of clickbaity videos could thrive. And so, the creators of YouTube gave the algorithm a new objective: optimize for viewer satisfaction. This means every time someone visits the world of YouTube, the goal is to keep them there as long as possible. This in turn means they see more ads, become more attached to the platform, and thus YouTube ultimately makes more money. This is important, as YouTube isn't the only world people can visit. If the algorithm fails to keep viewers satisfied, people could head over to rival worlds instead, like TikTok. The good news is that after extensive training, the algorithm has become very effective at its job. People spend more time exploring the world of YouTube than ever before. But when people see the same creators dominating the world, seemingly taking up all the prime real estate and thus getting most of the views, it's tempting to believe the algorithm has simply picked favorites. The truth is that the algorithm has been trained on so much data, it literally sees everything, that even YouTube themselves can't tell you the algorithm's exact thought process. But we do know what it's optimizing for. And given that viewer satisfaction is its primary objective, which leads to more time spent in the world of YouTube and therefore more money for YouTube, we know that if a creator starts making content that satisfies viewers more, the algorithm will give more of that prime real estate to them. In other words, no creator permanently has their spot. They have to keep earning it by making good content that people actually want to watch. We see this happen all the time. Established creators who believe the algorithm has turned on them, when in fact the algorithm just followed the audience, as the audience weren't clicking and watching their videos as much anymore. The algorithm had no choice but to give their prime real estate to another creator. The algorithm may be ruthless, but it's fair. Competitive dynamics and moats. The main currency in the game is attention. We're all competing for it, as it can be converted into currency in the real world. As a result, even though you may have direct competitors making similar content to you, you're also competing against all other videos your audience may want to watch, even in totally different niches. This is why it's so important to build a brand and not just a commodity. Commodities are easily substituted, so if someone can very easily just copy exactly what you're doing, your channel is essentially a commodity. Brands, however, have people who are loyal to them and keep coming back for more. It's the same with businesses. Good companies have a competitive advantage, qualities that prevent someone else from just easily replicating it and stealing all their customers, or in our case, viewers. We call this a moat. Back in the day, a castle's moat was mainly to protect the castle from attack. And similarly, in the world of YouTube, it's important to make sure you have a moat to protect your channel from attack. It's like a force field around your channel that makes it much harder for competitors to copy or replace you. This gives you an unfair advantage. There are many different ways to build a moat to protect your channel and gain a distinct advantage over the competition. Here are the most common ways. Although note that there is some overlap, and most successful channels have several of these. #1. Audience connection and community. Someone could replicate Emma Chamberlain's videos word for word, literally say the exact same things, but of course it would be nowhere near as successful. A lot of big creators like Emma have a moat because they have built up a connection with their audience and people are specifically coming to see them and their unique thoughts, experiences and opinions. It's not the words themselves, it's the fact they're coming from this specific person whose journey they've followed and that they feel connected with. So how can you apply this? Connect with your audience, share your own stories, give people a glimpse behind the scenes of running the channel, reply to comments, celebrate the subscriber milestones and thank your audience, share the lows and the struggles, make sure the audience feels like they're a genuine part of your channel. And this still works even if you're running a faceless channel. You just need to humanize the channel. Even though I'm not on camera and my channel is called Magnates Media, I sign off community posts and comments with my name. I write John because I want it to be clear there's an actual person behind the channel, not just some soulless company. Just because you're not on camera doesn't mean you can't bring the audience into your journey and build a connection with them. When they know a bit more of your story, they actually care about the channel. Every channel has its own unique lore, the history of things that have happened that your audience have been there with you for. And that connection, attachment, and community can't be easily replicated. A new channel may try to do the same thing as you, but they won't have that connection you've built up with your audience. Number 2, capital as a moat. Certain types of content have high costs to produce and run the channel. The vast amount of creators start off with very little money, and so when you have a sizable amount of money to invest, it can not only mean you can outcompete competitors by simply spending more and investing more heavily in the channel, but you can deter people from even entering your niche if the costs to do so are prohibitive. The channel Fern is an example of this. It's blown up really quickly, creating video essays with 3D models. This is expensive to produce, but the owners have other successful channels, so they already had substantial funds to invest in the content. To be able to try and make similar 3D videos as them, you would need a lot of money up front, which gives them a moat. A third way you can build a competitive advantage is through brand and style. The power of having your own style of content is that people want to see topics in your specific style. It doesn't matter if the video is not a completely original topic idea, because your presentation style and way of executing the idea is unique to you. So many little factors go into your style. The video aesthetic, fonts, music, animation style, filming style, equipment used, etc. There are many ways to differentiate yourself and have a creative direction that stands out from what others are doing. And it's really good to lean into this so your style feels unique. Most channels that blow up have something about their content that gives it a unique style. Your brand is essentially just the associations people have with you, your channel, and your content. Marques Brownlee has a brand. Loads of people review the exact same tech equipment as him, but there are associations you have with his content that would make you more likely to click his video over a different video that reviews the same device. Perhaps you associate his brand with being honest and fair in his reviews. A very different example of a brand is James Janney. His content has a very distinct style and aesthetic to it. You know when you're watching a James Janney video. He'll talk about things many other people do, but you may click a James Janney video specifically because it's from him and you associate the brand with quality editing and research. That branding, the countless associations people have with your specific content, and the endless amount of unique creative choices a certain creator makes is again something that's not so easily replicated. Number 4 is team. Imagine you had a team of 5 people, each putting 100 hours of work into a video. One solo creator by themselves simply can't compete. When you have a team to help you, so much more time can be put into all aspects of content creation to make a better end product, which means better videos. Consider Vox. They have a big team to help produce so much content while still maintaining high quality animations and doing original research. A team of A players gives you a moat, as a brand new creator starting out by themselves can't easily compete. Number 5 is personality and personalization. There's only one of you. Your personality and individual traits and characteristics can't just be cloned by a competitor. Whether it's your personal anecdotes, your sense of humor, the way you explain things, your personal interests, the references you make, all of these things are specific to you. That in itself is a moat. If people resonate with your personality, they're gonna become attached to your channel. So lean into showing some more personality. Make jokes that appeal to your sense of humor or share stories of your own experiences. Ryan Trahan is a creator that does a good job of showing his personality in his videos. And it means that even if the video itself may not be something you typically watch, because you like Ryan's personality, you still enjoy the video. Alex Hormozy also refers to the concept of one-of-one content. Content only you can make. For example, documenting your own personal experiences and stories and opinions. That way, people can't copy you. It's literally your specific experience and perspective. So with Alex, rather than giving general business advice anyone could repeat, he'll talk about personal anecdotes and lessons from his own companies and business experiences that are unique to him. The 6th type of moat is efficiency. Firstly, there's cost efficiency. If you can produce the same videos but cheaper than most other people can, that's a huge advantage. Then there's speed efficiency. If you can produce the same videos faster than most other people can, that's also a huge advantage. This kind of efficiency comes from having the right systems, tools, and team members in place. It allows you to execute more efficiently than the competition and thus get more from less. Number 7 is quality. Better research, better writing, better voiceover, better visuals, better editing, better equipment. When you have higher quality videos, of course it gives you a competitive advantage as it's so much harder to replicate and you stand out so much more. There are so many elements that go into quality, so when you work to improve all of these, it makes the barrier to entry so much higher for competitors trying to do the same thing. You can also obtain quality through your ideas. If you're innovative and you're the first one doing ideas, rather than always following what everyone else is doing, you'll have a huge advantage as many creators just redo what's been done before. Even when you're just starting out, actually caring about the content you make is a good way to gain an advantage. Because when you're making videos on things you personally care about, you'll push to make the quality better and won't settle for mistakes and errors. Number 8, niche-specific knowledge and expertise. Understanding your niche and having some expertise makes it much faster to produce videos, understand what topics to choose, and ensure there aren't mistakes. For example, if you tried to make finance videos but you know very little about finance, every video would require huge amounts of time and effort and there'd likely be mistakes. Someone with specific knowledge therefore has a distinct advantage that's not easily replicated by the masses who don't have that knowledge. If you've been watching football all your life, you're gonna have more success in the football niche than someone who doesn't really care about football. This is why I encourage people to pick niches they personally like and know about so you can speak from experience. Number 9 is credibility. It can be a moat if you have domain-specific expertise and credibility that not everyone has. If your channel is talking about weight loss but you're overweight, you don't have credibility. But if you're ripped with a six-pack, you do. For example, there's a lot of podcasts talking about money and business, but the All In podcast has blown up, as the hosts are worth hundreds of millions of dollars each and have been involved in successful companies. Having credibility in your niche is clearly a moat, as someone without that credibility is never going to get as many people interested. They won't be taken as seriously. Number 10 is YouTube expertise. Understanding how the game of YouTube works, how to make great content, how to build an audience, how to monetize effectively, and how to scale your channel are all cheat codes that will massively help you. The good news is, that's literally what this course is. It's going to give you all the expertise you need, which gives you an absolutely massive advantage over everyone who doesn't have the course. The more you understand YouTube and content creation, the more of a moat you have, as it allows you to consistently be successful as you know exactly what you need to do. And finally, number 11, reputation. One of the most overlooked reasons people choose videos is because of the channel reputation, the experiences they've had with the channel in the past. Anyone could clickbait you into clicking something once, but if the video sucks or it doesn't deliver on the promise of the thumbnail and title, you'll probably avoid their channel going forward. Mr. Beast has done so well as he's built a reputation for actually delivering on his crazy title and thumbnails. You know the video will be good because of the reputation he's built up. A reputation can massively work in your favor when done right, or against you when done wrong. But if you build a great reputation, that takes time, and some new channel that comes along is going to have to put in a lot of work to build a similar reputation, which gives you a moat around your channel. If it's a choice between two identical videos, they'll pick the one from the channel with the better reputation. So basically, everyone has unfair advantages versus the majority of the population. Things they know or can do that others can't. It could be a skill, a passion, an interest, or a trait. Utilize these to give yourself an unfair advantage and build a moat. Leveling up in game mechanics. Succeeding in the game of YouTube is all about improving your skills. That's how you win. Every YouTuber has stats. You can think of it like the old top trumps cards, where there's a rating for a bunch of different attributes. Or it's like skills in an online game. The more you level up, the higher your chances of success. That's why in the game of YouTube, I mentioned using the content scorecard. And throughout this course, you'll be learning how you can improve all 10 of these skills. YouTube gurus on social media like to debate which element of a video is the thing that matters most. People who specialize in thumbnails argue it's the thumbnail. People who sell ideation services argue it's the idea. Editors will say it's the video quality. Everyone has their own lens through which they view YouTube. I mentioned the content scorecard as it's more holistic. You can make a case why any one element matters most, but the reality is it all matters. You can have some success with just amazing packaging, even if the actual video is not executed that well. And on the flip side, I've seen videos with awful thumbnails and titles, but the video was great so it still did well. YouTube isn't as binary as people make out, there's a lot of factors. But of course, the more of these elements you can improve on, the more likely a video will be successful. The key is leveling up as many of these skills as possible, and thus the scorecard may help you pick up on blind spots and weaknesses in your videos. Strategy. The word strategy comes up a lot, but what does it really mean? Strategy is simply how you allocate your limited resources. We all only have so much time and money, and yet there's limitless things we could do. Good strategy is about using our limited resources most effectively to achieve the objective we're aiming for. Strategy gives you a clear direction of where you're going and how you do things. This means that good strategy is just as much about what you don't do and what you say no to. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. If you're not making any progress, you're likely working on the wrong things. However, with YouTube, many different strategies can work. YouTube is so vast and there are so many different business models and goals someone may have with their channel. The key thing is that you pick a strategy and then stick with it. So many people fail simply because they don't give their plan enough time and bounce between different strategies. Or worse, they don't get immediate traction with YouTube until they try a different platform or a different business model entirely. This is another reason why this course is so valuable. You're following one singular path. Whereas when you take lessons from loads of different people, it's pulling you in different directions. One person tells you need to do shorts, another tells you to try ultra long videos. One person tells you to do SEO, another tells you it doesn't really matter. So you're just left confused and half-heartedly committing to a bunch of different strategies. With most things in life, it would be better to pick a mentor who has the results you want and just learn from them. Follow one system. That's why I've made sure this course will have everything you need and support along the way. I'm not saying it's the only way you can grow on YouTube, but I guarantee you this system works. So, we know there are different strategies, but what's the content strategy I recommend? In my opinion, by far the number one content strategy is quality, evergreen content. And this is what will allow you to escape the YouTube rat race. There is more content than ever before. We are drowning under an avalanche of content. And so the way you stand out in a world of content is not by just pumping out more content, it's by making something that's better and more remarkable than the rest, so that people seek you out and remember your content specifically. That's why I so strongly believe in the strategy of high quality content, or in other words, quality over quantity, with an emphasis on evergreen videos that will still be getting views years from now. That's what allows you to break out of the social media hamster wheel as you build a back catalogue of content people will still be watching for years to come. With this strategy, the work you do now still benefits you in the future. So, let's break this down. Firstly, the high quality part. Let's be clear, quality does not just mean production value. So for example, camera resolution, 4K video, fancy lighting, complex animations. Production value is one part of quality, but it's certainly not everything. When I say high quality, I'm talking about all 10 elements of the content scorecard. Quality can come from better ideas, like more time thinking about innovative video concepts and being more selective about what to work on. Quality can also come from storytelling, carefully planning out the script or plot of the video and structuring it in a way that makes it easier to follow. Quality also just comes from effort. Viewers can tell when you've put in the time to find the perfect clips, or you've put a lot of thought into the right music choices, or have simply gone above and beyond. You want to demonstrate you've actually put time, energy, or money into the video because viewers can tell when it's high effort. And so, just post consistently for years is bad, outdated advice. The algorithm has become really good at pushing quality to the surface. You can literally blow up with your first video if it's good enough. Now, Gary Vee is one of the most influential voices in the business and social media space. But although I think Gary can be very motivating, and he's clearly more successful in business than me, I think the message a lot of people take from him is that they need to pump out hundreds of pieces of content. But for the average person who doesn't have a gigantic content team, I think a much better use of resources would be to make a much smaller amount of really good content. That's how you actually gain attention and stand out. And just to prove to you this strategy really works, Magnates Media averages more monthly views on YouTube than Gary Vee's channel, despite me posting significantly less content, and me having significantly less credibility in the business niche. Now, one caveat to this, you do sometimes need some quantity to achieve quality. You can't always skip straight to making great videos without practice. If each video is better than your last, you're heading in the right direction. But if you're just churning out videos for consistency and can't see progress between each upload, you're not. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Honestly, a huge part of success is just pattern recognition. The reason the top creators seem to be able to move faster and achieve more is largely down to them just having a much better sense of what good looks like. When I was starting on YouTube, I just did not have a good sense of what a good thumbnail or video even was. Now, you could show me almost any channel and I feel confident I can identify what's holding it back. Or you can show me a thumbnail and I'll feel pretty confident whether it'll do well or not. To be clear, I'm not saying I or anyone can ever predict anything with 100% accuracy. I definitely still make mistakes and I'm still learning, but the more you do something, the more instinctive it becomes to identify what's right or not, which allows you to move so much faster. And this same principle applies to anything. Someone with a lot of business experience can immediately come into a business and pinpoint issues. They've done it so many times that it's second nature and they know what to look for. That's why sticking with anything for an extended period of time is so powerful. The skill compounds. So let's talk about quality versus quantity. If you could post a genuine 100 out of 100 masterpiece every day, you'd become one of the biggest YouTube creators very quickly. But that's not realistic. There's always going to be some trade-off between quality and quantity. But it's actually easier to make one amazing video that gets 1 million views than make 100 videos that get 10k views each. Think how great you could make that one video if you poured all your energy into that instead of churning out average content for consistency. Make less videos, but make better videos. Spending double the time on a video can get 10 times the results as most people don't put the work in, and thus the good stuff rises to the top on YouTube. One epic video can change your life. I just want to repeat that. Going from good to great is maybe double the work, but can give you 10 times the results because there's not many great videos. So it's simple supply and demand. People want to watch the best videos, so quality wins. The vast majority of views go to a small number of videos. If you're pumping out low effort videos, yes, you may get lucky and one goes viral, but even if it does, that's not going to help you long term. You've now had millions of people see your crappy video and diluted your brand. Next time people see something from you, if they've had a bad experience, they'll probably skip your video next time. If your content sucks, the last thing you should do is want lots of people to see it. Become someone associated with good quality, and then getting people to click your videos becomes so much easier. The economics of quality make more sense too. If you consistently get 300,000 views every video, you can get 10k plus sponsorships per video. This means you could spend thousands of dollars on a single video and still make a substantial profit purely from sponsors, let alone factoring in ad revenue and other revenue streams. And of course, by spending more on the video, like having better editing, multiple thumbnail options, etc., you'll produce higher quality content that gets even more views. This in turn leads to even higher sponsorships, and so this cycle just repeats. Understanding your economics like this is key. Most creators don't, but when you have a profitable formula, it allows for rapid scale. Plus, team members want to work with you when you're making high quality content. I constantly get people messaging wanting to be a part of the team. If you're making cool stuff, you'll get editors reaching out all the time, so it'll be easier to hire. Of course, there is a point of diminishing returns with quality. The goal is to be well above average so you stand out, but not aim for a perfect masterpiece so that you never post. Don't sweat the details that 99% of viewers won't even care about. Spending more time to make the story flow better and clearer, that's important. A complex motion graphic sequence 20 minutes into the video, much less important. So that's my thoughts on quality, but now let's talk about how to make evergreen videos. Trending videos are what's hot and popular right now, which means there may be a lot of demand right now, but in a few days or weeks, the video will likely die off as they will no longer be relevant or popular. I believe chasing trends like this gives you the feeling of being on a treadmill. You never really make progress, and if you stop posting, the views stop. Whereas evergreen videos will still be relevant even years from now. They're timeless topics, which means the work you do now is still bringing in results even much later in the future. This is how you build a library of assets that just compound over time. And as new people find your channel, they go back and watch your old content too, as it's still relevant. I find every time I post a new video, I get an increase in views across the entire channel, including on videos from years ago, as new viewers go back and binge watch the older content. This also means you'll be able to take breaks, as even when you're not posting, you're still getting views from your past videos. Plus, it's much easier to stay motivated on making great videos and go the extra mile when you know people will still be watching it years later. So how do you make evergreen videos? To make an evergreen video, you want to avoid time-specific topics like news and current trends. Ask what people will still care about watching months or even years from now. For example, if I made a video covering the latest AI news, it'd only be relevant right now. But if I make a documentary on the history of AI, it'll still be relevant whenever anyone watches it, and it won't feel specific to one time period. Focus less on fads and trends and news, focus more on what's timeless and will always be relevant or interesting. Often this can come down to the packaging of your video and the way it's presented. Don't use language in your intros or titles that date your video. Like saying, the best tips to grow on social media in 2024. Because that means if anyone watches your video and it's not 2024, they'll think it's out of date and not worth watching. Also, don't use references to things that are happening right now that future audiences won't understand. The trick for this is to simply imagine the video you're making right now won't be seen by anyone for another 2 years. how would that force you to reframe it or word things differently? Because the reality is, there will be people who won't see it for another 2 years. And if the entire topic is not going to be relevant soon, is it really worth the time and effort to make this high quality video? Quality is also a component of evergreen content too. When you make high quality videos, it ensures your content stands the test of time, as it still seems well made even a couple of years from now. Now again, I do want to stress, there are multiple strategies with YouTube. Technically, low effort trending videos can work. I personally don't think it's a very good long-term strategy, but some people will have success with that. But when you're going the quality route, evergreen makes much more sense as the videos take longer to make, so it's harder to catch trending topics while they're still relevant. And also, you want to make sure all that work you put in is still getting you results for a very long time to come, not just a few days or weeks while the topic is hot. But aside from making quality evergreen content, there is a third part to this content strategy, and that is aim for remarkable. Make videos that feel unique and fresh. So many creators are in the mindset of just copying, and whilst you should absolutely learn from what's working, you want to pick out elements that are successful, but use them to create something that feels original. Most people start out by directly copying people they watch, but it's hard to stand out as a newer channel if you're doing the exact same thing as bigger channels, as you don't have the same reputation or brand as them. So people will watch their channels instead if the content's the same. The best creators usually innovate in some way. This definitely doesn't have to be anything crazy or revolutionary, and it doesn't mean you have to make the best video ever. It just means you add your own twist or put your own creative stamp on the content. This is often called blue ocean thinking, as rather than trying to directly compete with others, you're doing your own thing, so there's no exact competitor. Remarkable just means unusual or special, and therefore surprising and worth mentioning. This can be achieved in many ways. The topic, the format, the presentation, the packaging, the way you cover something. We'll discuss this more throughout the course, but one method of doing this is simply taking elements you like from a wide range of sources, including from outside your niche. Then you combine these different elements in a way that feels new for your niche. The goal should be to offer something that feels a little different and worthy of remark. When it comes to remarkable videos, there's countless examples. Like Let Me Know making a video on Jack the Ripper. The topic has been done countless times, but his style is remarkable in itself, and so it still goes viral. Or a totally different example that proves it's not all about editing is Casually Explained. He takes topics that have been covered many times before, but his unique style and humor still makes it a quality video that passes the "is it remarkable" test. When you combine all of these elements together, high quality, remarkable, evergreen videos, it's a proven formula for success. My video I posted on YouTube of how to win the game of YouTube was intended to be a meta example of this. There are endless amounts of YouTube advice videos, but so many of them feel the same. By revolving all of the information around the concept of YouTube being an online game and presenting the information in a different way, hopefully the video felt more remarkable, worthy of mentioning to someone else, as it felt distinct from other videos on the topic. I also tried to make sure the video didn't focus on current YouTube trends and instead focused on core skills for YouTube that will still be relevant for many years to come, so the video is hopefully evergreen. But now let's talk about the golden rule. If a total stranger I'd never met made the same video, would I want to watch it? This is the question you always have to ask yourself when making videos, because if the answer is no, we need to revise things. Because to most people, you are a total stranger, so we have to make something they're going to want to watch. People usually watch YouTube for one of three reasons: knowledge, entertainment, or connection. But why should the viewer care about this specific video? Why should they watch? What value are they going to get? What's in it for them? It sounds obvious, but we have to be quite brutally honest here. For example, when I started out making videos talking to a camera, in my head I convinced myself these videos are valuable, they're giving information. But I was just some random guy talking to a camera with no real credibility. Who cares about my opinion or advice? That's why I pivoted to making higher quality content that was actually valuable, focusing on telling better stories, making the videos more engaging to watch, and many other strategies we'll be covering in this course. That's when my channel started blowing up. So make sure you're following this golden rule. If a total stranger you never met was making the same video as you, would they want to watch it? Be as brutally honest as you can. At first, when no one knows you, people aren't interested in you, they're interested in what you can do for them. So, if you're starting out on YouTube with very little money, a popular question I get is, can you start YouTube with no money? And the answer is yes. I know this because I did it. And so did many other creators. In fact, even Mr. Beast. He's only able to spend so much now as he's reinvested so much of his earnings back into leveling up his content and skills further. Also, remember that great content doesn't necessarily need money spent on it. If you have very little starting capital, it just means you start off doing everything yourself rather than being able to hire team members. This honestly isn't a bad thing, as it allows you to understand each role better, so that when you do earn money and reinvest it, you fully understand what each role involves. It's actually harder to hire a good writer or editor if you've never had experience doing those things yourself, as you don't understand what's involved and what the process looks like. By doing it yourself first, you know what good looks like and will be a better leader when you do hire. Because when you eventually go to directing someone else, if you have no idea about the craft, how can you even give revisions and feedback? When you are doing the videos yourself though, since each one will take longer, more than ever, you need to think about the elements that have the highest leverage, the things where your work will have the most impact. For example, thinking about the video topic or idea to work on is absolutely crucial. Fancy editing is useless if it's a video idea nobody wants to watch. And yet the time split for most people is horrendous. They'll spend about 5 minutes thinking of an idea, 10 minutes on the thumbnail and title, then countless hours actually making the video. You need to spend way more time brainstorming good ideas and coming up with a great title and thumbnail before you even consider actually making the video. Think about this. You could spend months of your life creating the perfect video on a topic, but if it's a topic nobody is interested in watching, it's a waste of time. The harsh truth is, some of you bought this course thinking you need fancier animations and editing, but skills like storytelling are more important. If I was starting over with $0, I wouldn't worry too much about more complex animations until I could afford an editor. I'd instead spend more time finding really incredible stories to tell and work on packaging them in the most interesting way. I'd spend a lot of time on the opening of the video and find the right music to set the mood. But I wouldn't spend countless hours on complex animations throughout the entire video. Relatively simple can still work. Simple doesn't mean bad. And I also wouldn't spend any time at all on things like SEO. You grow faster by doing less, but just focusing on the things that have the most impact. And this still applies when you have a team as well, but having a team means they can focus on some of the things that are useful but not vital, like better animations. If I were starting over again with $0, I'd also do exactly what I did the first time around, which is live below my means and live as frugally as possible, so I can then reinvest as much of the channel's income into hiring freelancers to help me. The sooner you can do that and build a small team to help you, the faster the whole process will become, so you can make more videos and thus earn more money. Another potential option would be to partner with someone else if you don't have the budget for a team. For example, if you're good at scripts, you could partner with someone else who's good at editing, or vice versa, and both of you work on your skill set. Although, just a note, this doesn't make sense with every role. For example, I wouldn't partner with a thumbnail designer, as that's one of the cheapest and least time-consuming roles to hire for. Another potential option would be to learn a skill first and work for another channel you can learn from. That way, you can earn some money and get better at YouTube. If you already have editing experience, combined with the lessons you'll get from this course and the certificate you'll get, you could go get an editing job for other creators and build connections, experience, and money. Or if you have no editing experience, I recommend getting good at script writing. It's hugely in demand and not many people are that good at it. And using the strategies in this course, you will be. Then when you start your own channel, you not only have experience, but you have money to invest so you can hit the ground running. Or you could even be running your own channel on the side whilst working for another creator and funneling your income into your own channel. The truth is, it all depends on your circumstances. If you're young and have the opportunity to go live with your family for free or very little money, I would burn the boats and just go all in on your channel and nothing else. Commit to a period of work where you block out as many distractions as possible and just focus solely on YouTube. Because this kind of intense focus is the best way to improve and grow quickly. But that only works if you don't have many responsibilities and you have a safety net to fall back on. If you don't, you have to be a bit more gradual with your channel. But that's fine, you're playing the long game. Use this course to learn the key skills you need, reinvest what you can afford to, and keep focusing on the things that matter most. Remember, there are a lot of ways to win on YouTube, but there's really only one way to lose: quit. If you learn from your mistakes, keep improving, the failures aren't failures, they're just part of your path to becoming successful. If you keep going, you haven't lost. Every success story has a difficult phase where things aren't going to plan, but as long as you don't quit, you'll come out the other side of it. One of the biggest differences between those who succeed and those who don't is simply their time horizon. Those who succeed stick with it longer and don't give up. I highly recommend watching this 60-second video, which perfectly illustrates the typical cycle people go through and why they bounce from one idea rather than sticking with something. I'll link to that below under this training. But sticking with something long enough is literally the way to win. You know YouTube works. It's just a case of putting in enough time and work. There will be times where it feels overwhelming, but it's good that it's hard. There are tens of millions of YouTube channels. If it wasn't hard, you'd have no chance as it'd be too saturated. But what's quite amazing is actually there aren't that many channels consistently getting hundreds of thousands of views. Even though it's so desirable to be a YouTube creator, most people quit. Most people face an obstacle and go, nah, I'm out, and bounce to something else. Luckily, you're not most people. That's why you have this course. It's still going to take work, but it's going to be so much easier knowing exactly what to do and what not to do. As long as you commit to this, you'll look back in a couple of years when you're set for life and be very thankful. At any point in my first 2 years of doing YouTube, when things weren't working very well, I could have quit and said this just isn't working. But you never know how close you are to that tipping point where everything clicks into place. Stay on the path, you just need a longer time horizon. And since you'll be able to avoid all the mistakes I made, you'll get there a lot faster than I did. But you still need to give it a fair amount of time because it will be worth it. So throughout this course, I'm going to teach you the skills that matter most. Each one gets a separate training, and when combined together, this is the ultimate tutorial for winning the game of YouTube.